Okay, so you're working on this file, and you should, before you do anything that we're going to do today, have this as clean as possible. I know that he's on a boat or a dock, but this is kind of disconcerting when you look at this photograph, right? So what I'm going to do is make a stamp visible layer. Now, a stamp visible layer is going to include any layers that are visible. So it will include my background copy information, the black and white information, and any retouching that I've done on a blank layer. Why would I do this? Well, I need the information from this layer, and this layer on one layer. And I'm not going to flatten it. Why am I not going to flatten it?
Because you'll lose everything you've done.
Yeah, you can't go back. So I mean, efficient workflow means that you need to protect your layers and protect your ability to go back and change your mind. Neba said something interesting, that she did the digital painting at the beginning of the semester and then she did it again at the end of the semester, and what the difference was. And you'll find that by the time you're done with this retouching project and all of these like samples and stuff, that your retouching will be so much better than that first week. So if you have the layers, you can do that. So this is the trick. With the top layer selected, you use Shift, Command, Option, E. And what it does is takes all of the information from the layers that are on and makes it into a layer called Stamp Visible. Let's put the M in there. Stamp it. Okay. Now that is cool for so many reasons, because what I needed, I couldn't straighten the horizon on the background copy because it would leave out my retouching. And I couldn't do it on the black and white layer because the black and white layer is an adjustment layer and there are no pixels there. And the only thing that existed on the retouching layer was the retouching. Hi, Roger. So that wasn't going to work. Now I have the option to work off of this layer. So I'm going to leave these here and I can always go back. So I need to select the horizon, and I say make a big old selection, right? Because you need a little bit of handles on either side. It's like if you're video editing, you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you start shooting. You don't just like action and there we go, right? So you need a little bit of handles when you're compositing. Now, with that marquee around that crooked horizon, I'm going to make a new layer via copy or Command J. So the shortcut for the marquee is M. The shortcut for layer via copy is Command J. And you'll notice I now have an extra little horizon. So one thing that helps me is to hit Command R and put the rulers on. And in the rulers live thousands and thousands of guides. So I can bring down a guide, and when I go to straighten this horizon, I will be able to line it up with that guide and make it a lot easier. Your rulers are also under View. It's Command R to show the rulers. And then you can also clear your guides, lock them, and create a new one. You can also change the color of your guides under the Preferences, Guides, Grids, and Slices. So if this image were blue on blue on blue, I could change this to green. And then I would be able to see that contrast. Okay? So grab that Move tool, and we're going to go to the Transformation menu. Edit, Transform, Rotate. And you'll see our bounding box pops up, and I'm going to go to the edge and rotate it. Now that would be perfect, but I want to make it a little easier to mask. So I'm going to grab the corner, I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Scale, grab the corner, hold on the Shift key, and pull it out till this edge clears, right? See how this edge doesn't clear? Now it clears. So I changed the scale of it a little bit. It's not enough to actually disrupt the image at all. And once I've got that, I'm good. I hit Return or the check up here to commit. So when you make a transformation or if you place an image, you have to commit it to it by hitting Return. And now we've got layer 1, and we're going to call it Little Horizon. Okay, perfect. Now I need to figure out how to get rid of this. If your first inclination is the eraser, I want you to maybe punch yourself right now. Anybody?
You would never.
Right? So if you, no, the eraser's terrible. And I'll tell you why.
I really want to know.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
This is, and I'll show you what the difference between a noob is and one of my students. A noob.
Anubis? That's like the dog-headed thing.
No. Somebody who's just starting.
Okay.
This is what would happen. And I have done this, which is why I know not to.
Okay.
You can use the eraser, and then you do this.
You can hit shift though to make it straight.
Yeah.
You can, hold on a second. Even if, you hold on shift. Okay, and you go in a little bit there. But you don't notice at the time, right? And then you just keep going and going and going. That information's gone. So what I'm teaching you is to use the layer mask. If you were putting together a movie, when you put together a movie poster, you want everything. You want to hide and reveal information. Down at the bottom of the layer panel is the most important thing in your life. The little icon here for layer mask that looks like the flag of Japan, or the layer, a front-loading washer. Okay. So with this layer selected, hit Add Layer Mask. Grab the brush, and here's the trick. This needs to be black and white, not black and black, not white and white, not gray and gray. The shortcut for this to be black and white, so if it were gray and gray, is D for default. And that changes it, okay? Now, you are going to hide and reveal parts of this. Also, say you needed to go back and edit it later. I always like the idea of being able to go back, right? Now I grab the brush, get up on that. Black needs to be in the foreground, so I hit X to put it in the foreground, X as an X-Men, toggles. And then I can hold that shift key down. I'm not like, the Wacom is not, there we go. And when I'm like, oh, look at that, that's kind of janky. All I have to do is make my brush a little smaller, hit X to put white in the front, and line it back up. So it is the ultimate in what everyone's wearing for compositing this year. Yes?
Now, can you, still with the layer mask, use just like the selection box so you don't have to go in and worry about that? Like, does it work?
Yep, let me show you how. Grab the marquee.
I'm lazy. I like doing it. Oh, that's amazing.
Okay. Move it over a pixel or two. With the layer mask selected, not the pixel thumbnail, but the layer mask thumbnail. Black is in the foreground. You want to make white in the foreground, and then hit delete. You did not delete it though. You edit it, because if you look at your, see? Black is hiding, white is revealing.
Can you use the bucket tool to fill it in as well, or will that mess with it?
The bucket tool to refill a space, or
To fill a space.
good question.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, you can, because technically it's like the black and then the white.
Yeah.
I don't want to. You wouldn't use it. You touch it.
I don't even think you need to, let's see. So if you had black in the front and then you bucketed it, okay, you can. I don't know if you need to use, if it's the most efficient.
I just wanted to know.
Absolutely. Do you know why? Because it's not operating like paint. It's operating on the layer mask as a hiding and revealing.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never had that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that is that. Command D to deselect. You're going to do the same thing with the bottom. The lighting does not match up. I know that. But you can get the bottom off of the stamp visible layer also. And take it up, flip it, and put a layer mask on to blend it. Okay? But this is how you approach the automobile. So if we open...
That line there isn't because of the, that's just the picture, right?
Oh, this line? Oh, this is the worst. Yeah.
I was gonna say, can we fix that the same way?
Yes.
I remember before I did like the spot healing and I didn't like
It is like so tricky. What I would do, okay, you know what? There's a couple of steps. Let me take you down a couple of steps before we get to that point. Before you do that, you know, I forgot one step. So I'm going to ask you to go back in time with me to before we moved this horizon. All right? I'm going to make a new layer above the stamp visible, and I'm going to call it Dodge. And I'm going to paint with white, because you see how this one side's darker? Looks good. Change it from normal to soft light, and then take the opacity down. And then you can add, see, I'm also using the Wacom, which is, again, pressure sensitive, and I'm so heavy-handed. Ooh, that is really hard. No, don't do that. You can use the eraser on this layer, and you can use a really soft eraser, which will also kind of help you. So you can go back and forth between the eraser and the brush, but look at how it's lightening that up.
That's before the horizon.
This is before the horizon. Yeah. I mean, if you forget before the horizon, you can just, when you're all done, do a stamp visible layer and do it right above that. But now when I turn my horizon on, wah, wah, which I don't think this will work. Oh, wow, that worked. Ah. I wasn't sure if that would work. I don't know why I didn't think it would, but it did. Okay, so is that good? Okay. And then to fix the sky, I would go back to the, I would do all your retouching, and then I'd make another stamp visible, and I would cut off a clean spot from here or here and move it up. But it is, I've had to,
you have to retouch it. You literally just click and drag after retouching.
Yeah, you wait until you're all done, and then we will go over that too. What I've had a problem with that is I had to adjust the opacity of the layer, and I had to use different opacities of brushes on the layer mask, because that's a really tricky spot. So maybe if one of you guys get your file to that point, I can use you as a demo. Oh, that's it. This here, slowly.
It's a lot. I did the spot healing for that.
Yeah.
It worked pretty well. You just kind of follow the.
Ooh, what am I doing?
Follow the
Opacity.
wave shape.
What is
That was
happening?
what else I did. Is I made mock
Command
waves.
Z.
I know, right? Undo.
Command Z.
Yeah,
You're on the stamp.
should be able. That should have worked.
You're in white. Is it because you have white on? Yep. What is this?
Huh?
Are you in the wrong layer?
No, I'm.
It's just because of the white.
Oh, do you know why?
Get a sample
Sample
of layers.
layers. Yeah.
It was sampling that dodge. Turn that dodge off. That's why that is a great point, Sue. You want to get every bit of retouching done before you start this compositing, because then you've got, like, I didn't know why that was, and then I was like, it's sampling above and below. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Does this help?
Yes.
Right. Everything that you're doing can also be applied to the family car.